Today is Saturday, May 28th. The world is grieving for the community of Uvalde, Texas, and mourning the young children and teachers who senselessly lost their lives in a horrific school shooting. It's difficult for everyone to comprehend. So as adults, how do we even begin to talk about this or any other tragedy with the children in our lives? Today, clinical psychologist and parent educator Dr. Jasmine McCoy is here to help. You may know her as the Mom Psychologist across Instagram, YouTube, and on her own podcast. She's sharing the specific conversations to have with kids of different age groups, what questions to ask them, what to do if they're scared to go to school, and much more. So whether you're a parent, an aunt or uncle, a teacher, a babysitter, or other trusted adult, we hope this episode helps you navigate this tough time. Welcome to the Newsworthy Special Edition Saturday, when we sit down with a different expert or celebrity every Saturday to talk about something in the news. Don't forget to tune in every Monday through Friday for our regular episodes, where we provide all the day's news in 10 minutes. I'm Erica Mandy. It's now time for today's Special Edition Saturday. The Mom Psychologist, Dr. Jasmine McCoy, thank you so much for coming on the Newsworthy.
Thank you so much for having me.
Before we dig into how we should be talking to kids about this elementary school shooting, can we first just acknowledge that this is hard for everybody, adults included?
Yes. Again, I'm so honored to be here and to talk about this. It's sad that we have to talk about this, but this is our reality right now. And as we are navigating these conversations with our kids, we as parents and caregivers and teachers, we're trying to process this news as well. So it is very hard.
So what is your advice for managing our own feelings and emotions about this, parent or not?
That is one of the best places to start, is checking in with ourselves and trying as best as we can to at least start the process of trying to process how we're feeling and what is coming up for us around this time. So some good questions to ask and kind of reflect on is, what is coming up for me? What fears do I have around my safety, my children's safety, their future? What do I need right now? Am I taking in too much news? Because I know around these times it's easy to kind of overconsume the news, but sometimes we need to take a step back, or maybe we need to get more involved in taking action in the ways that feel aligned with us. But overall, it's really important during these times and ongoing to take care of ourselves, pour back into ourselves, keep our regular routines as best as we can, avoid overscheduling ourselves as we are trying to process all of this.
At what age do you think kids are going to hear about this anyway? So maybe we as the parent or a trusted adult should bring this up with them first. And are there any ages where you think, maybe don't bring this up, maybe protect them from this?
Yes, very good question, because it's important to realize the way that we approach this conversation and the way that we talk about this with our kids is going to change as they age. And so before 8, you may consider not sharing this news with your child because it will likely be hard for them to process. And actually, the American Academy of Pediatrics doesn't recommend approaching this topic with kids under 8. However, if it directly impacts your family, or if you feel like they may hear about this from others, like at school, then it is important to really consider bringing it up, because you do want to open the conversation up with them and dispel any myths or help just prepare them for what they're going to hear and create that safe space.
And to be clear, why is it better that they hear something from you or a trusted adult instead of just at school or the media or somewhere else?
Yeah, because in general, it's important to send the message to our kids that I am a safe person to come to. I am a safe person to talk about anything, that I'm not afraid to have these hard conversations. Yes, they are hard. Yes, this is tough. And I wish we didn't have to have these conversations, but at the same time, I'm not afraid of them. And I'm here to answer any questions that you may have. Also, what commonly can happen is that they may hear misinformation from the media or their peers. And so it's important to open these conversations up so that you can dispel any myths or answer any questions that they have about what they've heard.
If you don't mind, let's get kind of specific about how the conversation might go with different age groups of children. I know you posted a guide on Instagram that people can check out as well. Can you walk us through at least some of that?
Sure. So for toddlers and preschoolers at this age, they're usually not developmentally ready to process. So I recommend trying as best as you can to shield them from the news. But what they will pick up on is your emotional reactions. And oftentimes that can impact them more. And, if they see you upset, visibly upset, crying, and they ask you about it, it's okay to be honest about your feelings. And you can just say something as simply like, I'm feeling sad right now about something that happened far away, and all feelings are okay. And you can invite them to ask any questions if that feels appropriate. But around this age, as children, around toddler and preschool years, don't be alarmed if you start to notice themes in their play of conflict, fighting, fairness, good versus evil, power and control, or even death. This is common. This is actually healthy. And it's their way of processing these themes within themselves. So if you notice these, just take this as an opportunity to observe and learn more about what's coming up for your child. Try not to shut it down or even redirect it, because again, this is how they process the world around them. And this is how they share, their internal world with you.
Yeah, that's really good advice. What about the next age group that may have more questions?
Sure. So let's talk about that 6 to 10 age range. Make sure that you keep your information short and sweet. Less is best. And you want to kind of use their questions to form what you say. It might sound something like, something horrible happened far away in a state called Texas. You can just say that a shooting happened at a school and some people were hurt, and then invite them to share, have they heard about it? So you kind of want to open the conversation and get them talking and sharing if they've heard about it, what they've heard about it, how this makes them feel, and then go from there.
And any thoughts and suggestions for older kids over 10?
Yeah. So you, again, want to invite them to share what they know. That's a really great way to start the conversation and, what they know, how they're feeling about the event. And around this age range, the preteens and the teens, they're developing their beliefs about morality, social issues, gun violence, laws, and more. So they oftentimes are ready to dive into a deeper conversation. So be ready for that. Be prepared. But again, just come at it that I want to listen. I want to hear what's coming up for you. Follow their lead. Let them determine the level of conversation. And also don't be surprised if maybe they don't want to talk about it with you and they more so want to talk about it with their friends. That's developmentally appropriate as well. And around this time too, what can be very empowering for kids is to look for solutions and ways to get involved. So maybe that means attending a rally together or lobbying lawmakers or writing a letter to the victims' families or donating to organizations, just kind of inviting them to get proactive if they feel ready to do that, because that can be a great way to help them feel effective and empowered.
Still ahead, what if you already overshared with your kids? Dr. Jasmine says don't worry and offers what steps you can take next. She also breaks down what signs of stress look like in kids and much more. But first, let's take a quick break to thank our sponsors. Any other parents out there ever feel a bit overwhelmed by all the things we have to think about and do? I hope I can help take one thing off your plate by letting you know about Pampers Cruisers 360 Fit diapers. I started using these diapers in recent months after my baby Dax got a little older and more active, and suddenly we needed something that would really move with him and not gap in the back. Well, Pampers Cruisers 360 Fit diapers are Pampers' best fit and protection for an active baby. Unlike regular taped diapers, the 360 gap-free fit stretches around my baby's waist, which means he no longer has that gap on the back of the diaper as he crouches down. Instead, Pampers Cruisers 360 Fit diapers keep my baby comfy and dry, which means I am cleaning up fewer messes. Plus, Cruisers 360 Fit locks wetness away from skin for up to 12 hours and is hypoallergenic. So I've noticed fewer rashes on my baby's skin around the diaper, and all in all, we're both happier. Buy in-store and download the Pampers Club app today to start earning rewards with every diapers and wipes purchase. This podcast is also sponsored by Rothy's. There's a certain kinship I feel when I see someone else wearing Rothy's shoes. Not only do the shoes grab my attention for being cute, but also it's as if we both know the secret to comfortable, chic shoes that we can wear all day long and still turn heads. In fact, Rothy's are known for their chic pointed toe flats, but that's just the beginning. They have tons of iconic, compliment-worthy designs in bright but sophisticated colors. And as always, all of their products are made with planet Earth in mind. The company has repurposed about 125 million water bottles so far by knitting all of their products with thread made from plastic bottles. Plus, you can wash your shoes in order to wear them over and over again. I've had one of my Rothy's flats for years, and they're still going strong. So your new favorite shoes are waiting. Discover the versatile styles you can wear absolutely anywhere and get $20 off your first purchase at rothys.com/newsworthy. That's ROTHYS, rothys.com/newsworthy for $20 off your first order. Okay, now back to my conversation with Dr. Jasmine McCoy. We want to be honest, but not necessarily overshare and find that balance. For parents who who are worried they already overshared, what's your advice now, a few days later, maybe their kid is feeling scared?
Yeah, that's a great point. And that happens. And oftentimes that can happen when we feel pressure internally to have all the answers. If you suspect that your child is feeling anxious, bring that up to them. Say, I notice this. It seems like you're a little off. How are you feeling? What questions do you have for me? That's one of my favorite phrases to ask is what questions, not do you have questions, but what questions do you have for me? And open the conversation and go from there. If they're not ready to talk about it or share their feelings, that's okay too. You just want them to walk away knowing that you're okay to talk about these difficult conversations and that you want to keep this conversation ongoing.
So you don't need to panic if you overshared, but just continue to bring it up to see how they're feeling.
Exactly. And, if they seem okay with what you said, then maybe you decide, I don't need to bring it up again unless they seem bothered by it. But again, you can check in with them, like you said, a couple days after and just say, I know we had a really difficult conversation the other day. I just want to check in with you. What questions do you have? And I think reading your child's cues and paying attention to what questions do they ask. Children are incredibly inquisitive and they will let you know what's on their minds. And so paying attention to that and kind of trying to read between the lines if they're asking a lot of the same kind of questions, because especially for preschoolers around this age and even young children, don't be surprised if they keep bringing it up. And of course, if you notice that your child their behavior has changed, they seem more stressed, they're having more tantrums, or they're more moody, or even they're complaining about school, not wanting to go to school, those are all signs that they could be experiencing stress. So you definitely want to pay attention to those, nonverbal cues. So being over clingy, withdrawing from activities, changing their eating or their sleeping pattern, body complaints like I have a stomach ache, I have a headache, those could be signs that your child is experiencing stress.
At what point do you think you might need additional help, maybe professional help in terms of a psychologist like you?
Great question. I would say if the conversations at home don't seem to be enough, they don't seem to be moving the needle, your child continues to have the same concerns, the same fears, and it's really distressing them. Oftentimes, too, to the point of they don't want to go to school and it's interfering with school or other activities, that's always a good sign to reach out for help.
How important is it to reassure kids that they are safe? And I know some parents' response to that is that, well, it's not a safe world. I can't tell my kids that. And then what's the response?
Yeah, no, that's a really good point. And that comes up a lot, especially as we're trying to process this event in our own ways and personally. And if you don't feel that that's aligned, you don't feel comfortable telling your child and reassuring your child, you are completely safe, you are safe, you are safe, then I invite you to say something to the effect of, we are doing all in our power to keep you safe, and talking about the overall theme of safety and ways that we can create more safety and remind ourselves that we're safe, and what ways do we have control over this. It's paramount for kids to feel safe, especially in places that are designed and they're for their safety, right? In places that they should feel safe, like going to school. And so, we're playing a delicate balance here as parents of reassuring our child that they are safe in these moments, and that everybody in their life, all the adults, are doing their best to keep everybody safe, and also honoring that they might not feel very safe right now, given everything that's going on. So it's a balance. It's a both and, if you will. And if they, express that they're feeling scared to go to school, then I would invite that. I would stay curious as possible and invite them to share more about what they're worried about, what doesn't feel safe, and then go from there.
Do you still send them to school?
I would recommend that you do. Maybe not the first day or two. I know it's tempting to keep them home, but this can actually worsen their avoidance and worsen their fear. But this is hard. It's a hard topic, and it's a hard thing to navigate as parents when it feels like school is such an unsafe place right now.
Any final thoughts or words of advice for our listeners?
I would say, one of the things that might happen or what might come up is your child will ask, well, will a shooter come to my school, right? Is this going to happen to me? And so I think, reassuring them, letting them know, I know that this is a scary time, right? And that you feel unsafe. And I'm glad that you asked this question. And then going into a conversation about how their school keeps them safe, right? What are the safety plans? What are the safety protocols? And having that conversation and maybe bringing that up with their teacher, because that's a valid question. And so we want to kind of just be prepared, be on the lookout for that question, because it could come up.
Well, thank you to the mom psychologist, Dr. Jasmine McCoy, for sharing her expert insights with us today. Definitely give her a follow on Instagram, subscribe to her YouTube channel, and check out her podcast. Just search for The Mom Psychologist for all of them. That'll do it for us today. We'll be off on Monday for the Memorial Day holiday, but we will be back in your podcast feed on Tuesday with our next regular episode, breaking down the day's news in just 10 minutes. Until then, have a great holiday weekend.